You won't believe this. The world's biggest food empire didn't start in a boardroom. It started in a backroom lab, with a man in a stained apron racing against the clock, and a crying infant who couldn't keep food down. No one saw it coming. He wasn't chasing billions, he was chasing a heartbeat. A pharmacist named Henri Nestlé mixed, tested, failed, tried again. It almost didn't work, and that's exactly why what really happened next changed everything. Picture Europe in the 1860s. Poverty, disease, mothers out of options. Henri's tiny experiment, a careful blend of science and compassion, turns into a lifeline. The first 10 leaves his shop, then another, then 100. This isn't hype. This is survival in a can. But here's the truth revealed. Empires don't start with money, they start with meaning. One product becomes a promise. One promise becomes trust, and trust, that's the spark that scales. Learn from this mistake most people make, thinking scale begins with marketing. It begins with mercy. Before we dive in, I've put together an exclusive guide that distills the 10 hidden lessons behind history's strongest empires, starting with this one. If you want to go deeper and apply the frameworks as you watch, the link's in the description. Now back to the moment that set the fuse, because what no one tells you is how fragile the first wins really are. One supply glitch, one bad batch, one rumor, and it could have ended here. Instead, a formula becomes a movement becomes a brand, and a brand shaped by coffee, chocolate, and culture quietly takes over breakfast, lunch, and everything in between. So tonight, we're pulling the thread from that first can to $1 trillion web that touches nearly every kitchen on Earth. We'll uncover the shocking story behind the logos in your pantry, the hidden lesson inside every launch, and why Nestlé's playbook still bends the food industry to its will. Stay close. What starts as a pharmacist's fix becomes a blueprint for building empires through crisis, controversy, and reinvention. And by the end, you'll know exactly how he did it, and how you can steal the parts that matter. Humble beginnings. 1867. You won't believe this. Before Nestlé became a global giant, it all started in a modest Swiss pharmacy, with one man chasing a dream bigger than himself. Henri Nestlé wasn't born into riches or privilege. He was a pharmacist, driven not by profit but by compassion. In 1867, he faced a crisis no one saw coming. Europe was plagued by infant malnutrition, and thousands of babies were dying before their first birthday. For Henri, this wasn't just science, it was survival, and what really happened next changed everything. Day after day, Henri watched desperate mothers walk into his shop, their eyes filled with helplessness. Milk was scarce, and the alternatives often made babies weaker. That haunting sight burned into his memory. He realized something had to be done, and fast. He rolled up his sleeves, not as a businessman, but as a man on a mission, mixing cows, milk, wheat flour, and sugar. He tested formula after formula until one finally worked. This wasn't just an experiment, it was a lifeline. The truth revealed is that Henri's invention, later called Fairing Lactee, wasn't glamorous. It came in a simple tin, humble in appearance, but inside was hope that infants too weak to survive could now have a fighting chance. Families began spreading the word. Suddenly, this small-town pharmacist had created something no one else had achieved, a product that could save lives. In the span of months, he went from local pharmacist to regional savior. It almost didn't work, but against all odds, it did. Imagine the relief of a mother who had already buried two children, now watching her third survive, thrive, and smile because of Henri's formula. That emotional connection created trust. Trust so powerful it spread across Switzerland and beyond. Mothers who had nothing to believe in now believed in him. And that's when Henri realized food wasn't just about filling stomachs, it was about preserving futures. This hidden lesson would become the backbone of the empire to come. Before we dive deeper, I've put together an exclusive guide that extracts 10 hidden lessons from the world's greatest business empires, including this very story. It's a perfect complement to what you're watching now, and you'll find the link in the description. Now, back to Henri, because his journey was just getting started, and what no one tells you is how fragile it all was in the beginning. By the end of 1867, Henri Nestlé was no longer just a local solution. Word of mouth carried it across borders, doctors endorsed it, mothers demanded it, and suddenly Henri Nestlé's small pharmacy was shipping tins far beyond Switzerland. What began as a humanitarian mission had unknowingly planted the seeds of a global empire, and here's the shocking story. It could have ended right there, with one product, but Henri? He was just getting warmed up. Early growth and expansion success of Henri Nestlé spread like wildfire. Within just a few years, tins of Nestlé's infant formula were being shipped across Europe, from the quiet valleys of Switzerland to bustling cities like Paris and Berlin. No one saw it coming. A small pharmacist had created something bigger than nations could ignore. Doctors prescribed it, mothers trusted it, and word of mouth turned into unstoppable demand. What really happened is that Nestlé wasn't just selling food, he was selling survival. Henri's vision began to expand beyond the formula itself. He believed food wasn't just about avoiding death, it was about nourishing both body and soul. That belief made people connect emotionally with his product. Families no longer saw Nestlé as just a company. They saw it as a partner in their most vulnerable moments. And this changed everything. Trust became the currency of growth. But here's the shocking story. Henri eventually sold the company. Most entrepreneurs would never give up their life's work. But Henri realized something powerful. The idea was bigger than the man. With the right leadership, Nestlé could outgrow him and impact millions more. That's the hidden lesson here. Sometimes stepping back is the bravest way to let your vision expand. Think about it in your own life. Maybe you're holding onto a project, an idea, or even a routine because it feels safe. Yet what no one tells you is that letting others contribute can multiply its reach. Henri let go, but the brand didn't collapse. It skyrocketed. This moment shows us the truth revealed. Growth often demands trust in others, and this is exactly where my exclusive guide ties in. Inside it, you'll find practical strategies on how to scale your own projects, the same principles Nestlé applied, but broken down so you can use them today. Links in the description. Learn from this mistake many make, trying to carry everything alone. By the late 19th century, Nestlé products were no longer just European. They had crossed oceans, reaching families in the Americas. The brand became more than just infant formula. It became a household name, a symbol of nourishment. What started in a pharmacy was transforming into a company poised to dominate the world stage. And yet, it could have ended here if not for one bold pivot that was just around the corner. Diversification into beverages and foods. By the 1930s, Nestlé was facing a new challenge. The world was in turmoil. The Great Depression had shattered economies, and families were tightening their belts. It almost didn't work, but Nestlé saw an opportunity. People still needed comfort, energy, and convenience. That's when the company introduced something that would rewrite beverage culture forever: Nescafé. You won't believe this. A simple instant coffee would soon become the drink that fueled the modern world. The truth revealed is that Nescafé wasn't just a product, it was a revolution. For the first time, coffee wasn't bound by time-consuming brewing or expensive machines. Soldiers could drink it on the battlefield, workers could sip it during short breaks, and families could share it at the dinner table. No one saw it coming. But coffee became Nestlé's secret weapon to enter every household. When World War II erupted, Nestlé adapted with speed and precision. Instead of retreating, they supplied Nescafé to soldiers worldwide. Imagine a young soldier, exhausted and homesick, drinking a warm cup of coffee that reminded him of home. That emotional connection turned Nescafé into more than a product. It became a lifeline. This shocking story of resilience proved that innovation could thrive even in chaos. But Nestlé didn't stop there. The brand expanded into chocolate, dairy products, and instant meals, building a portfolio that touched every part of life. From Kit Kat bars to condensed milk, from Maggi soups to powdered milk, Nestlé became a companion from breakfast to dessert. What no one tells you is that diversification isn't about doing more. It's about doing what people already crave, but easier, faster, and better. And that's exactly where the exclusive guide comes in. Inside, I've broken down how diversification works in practice, the same principle Nestlé mastered, and one you can apply in your own ventures. Learn from this mistake, thinking one product is enough. Sometimes expanding is the only way to survive. The guide gives you the frameworks to spot your own Nescafé moment. By mid-century, Nestlé was no longer just a European success story, it was a global player. With products that could fit into every culture and every kitchen, Nestlé secured its place at the center of modern life. The hidden lesson? Adaptation isn't optional, it's survival. And Nestlé's ability to diversify would carry it into markets no one thought possible. Global expansion 20th century. By the 20th century, Nestlé had become unstoppable. What started in a Swiss pharmacy was now reaching distant continents. Latin America, Asia, Africa. You won't believe this. Tins of powdered milk and jars of instant coffee were showing up in villages that had never even seen a European brand before. No one saw it coming, but Nestlé was embedding itself into daily life everywhere, adapting just enough to feel local while keeping its global identity intact. The truth revealed is that expansion wasn't just about shipping products overseas. Nestlé studied local cultures, adjusted flavors, and respected traditions, but never compromised on its brand promise. In Brazil, sweetened condensed milk became a staple for desserts. In Asia, Milo energized students at schools. In Africa, powdered milk filled gaps where fresh milk was scarce. Nestlé wasn't just selling food, it was improving quality of life, one adaptation at a time. This shocking story of expansion shows a hidden lesson. Growth isn't about forcing your way into new markets, but about listening first. What really happened is that Nestlé succeeded where others failed because it learned to meet people where they were. That principle turned them from a foreign company into a trusted partner. Everywhere they went, think about it. In your own projects or ideas, how often do you push without listening? What no one tells you is that adaptation is the ultimate competitive edge. Whether it's business, relationships, or even personal growth, the same rule applies. If you want to expand, you have to adapt. Nestlé didn't just conquer markets, it won hearts by understanding them. That's why, in the exclusive guide, I included a section dedicated to this very principle: how to adapt while scaling. Learn from this mistake many make: trying to copy-paste one formula everywhere. The guide breaks down real strategies to tailor your ideas to any environment without losing your essence. The link is in the description if you want to dig deeper. By the late 20th century, Nestlé wasn't just a food company. It was a global symbol of reliability. Its motto became clear: improving quality of life everywhere, from the streets of Tokyo to the markets of Mexico City. From rural towns to megacities, Nestlé had secured its spot in kitchens across the planet. And yet, its story was far from finished. Next came the era of icons that would shape global culture forever. Iconic products that shaped culture. By the mid-20th century, Nestlé wasn't just growing, it was shaping culture. You won't believe this. Some of the world's most recognizable household names, from Kit Kat to Nescafé, from Maggi to Nestea, were all part of Nestlé's arsenal. No one saw it coming, but suddenly, Nestlé wasn't just in your pantry. It was in your childhood, your family traditions, your memories. What really happened is that Nestlé products became part of life's soundtrack. Think about Kit Kat. It wasn't just a chocolate bar, it was a ritual. Have a break, have a Kit Kat became more than a slogan. It became a cultural anthem, a pause in a busy world. Nescafé wasn't just coffee, it was the aroma that pulled families to the table in the morning. Maggi wasn't just seasoning. It was the secret behind home-cooked meals passed down for generations. These weren't products anymore, they were traditions in a box. The truth revealed is that Nestlé mastered emotional marketing. They weren't selling food, they were selling moments. A mother baking with Nestlé condensed milk wasn't just Preparing dessert, she was creating memories. A father stirring Milo into his child's breakfast wasn't just serving energy, he was shaping ambition. The shocking story is that Nestle learned to connect taste with feelings, packaging, emotions in every tin, jar, and wrapper, and here's the hidden lesson: culture is built when ordinary things become extraordinary through meaning. Nestle tapped into this by aligning their products with emotions everyone could relate to: love, comfort, nostalgia. What no one tells you is that businesses don't just thrive on utility. They thrive when they become symbols, and Nestle, quietly but powerfully, turned food into identity. That's why in the exclusive guide, I dedicated an entire chapter to the art of emotional branding. Learn from this mistake. Focusing only on function and ignoring feeling, Nestle's success proves that what people remember isn't just the taste, it's how it made them feel. Inside the guide, I break down how you can turn your own ideas into cultural TOUCHSTONES. By the end of the 20th century, Nestle wasn't just a company, it was a cultural architect. From breakfast to dessert, from school lunches to midnight snacks, its products became woven into daily life. This changed everything. Nestle had evolved beyond a business. It had become a symbol of comfort, family, and tradition. But with great cultural power came great controversy, and the next chapter would test Nestle's strength like never before. Challenges and criticism for every empire built. Shadows always follow. Nestle, now a cultural icon, faced controversies that almost tore its reputation apart. You won't believe this. The same company trusted to feed infants became the target of boycotts across the globe. No one saw it coming, but by the late 20th century, Nestle was accused of pushing baby formula in developing countries where clean water was scarce, a practice critics claimed endangered lives instead of saving them. The truth revealed is that this wasn't just a business scandal, it was a moral battle. Images of malnourished children and angry protests filled newspapers. Activists accused Nestle of prioritizing profits over humanity, calling for boycotts that echoed across continents. For the first time, the global giant seemed vulnerable. What really happened was a war between reputation and ambition, and it didn't stop there. Nestle was also accused of exploiting water rights, raising questions about who really owns the world's most precious resource. Add in debates over sugar in processed foods, aggressive marketing, and health concerns, and the picture got darker. The shocking story is that Nestle, once seen as a savior, was now painted as a villain in the eyes of millions. Here's the hidden lesson: every empire faces its reckoning. It almost didn't work. Nestle could have collapsed under the weight of criticism, but instead, the company doubled down, adjusting strategies, refining policies, and continuing to expand. What no one tells you is that resilience isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning how to walk through them without losing balance. That's why in the exclusive guide, I included a powerful section on crisis navigation. Learn from this mistake. Thinking growth means immunity. Even the largest empires face backlash. The guide breaks down frameworks you can use to prepare for and survive your own storms, no matter the scale. It's a tool you'll want on hand before your next big move. Despite decades of criticism, Nestle kept its course. The boycotts dented its image, but never destroyed its empire. Instead, the company emerged more cautious, more strategic, and more influential than ever. This changed everything. Nestle had proven that surviving criticism wasn't just possible, it could even fuel growth. And that's why today, it stands as a giant like no other. The global giant of today, more than 150 years after Henri Nestlé mixed his first formula in a small Swiss pharmacy, the empire he started has become almost unrecognizable in scale. You won't believe this. Today, Nestle operates in nearly every country on Earth. No one saw it coming back in 1867, but the company now touches the lives of billions daily. What really happened is that one man's humanitarian experiment became the largest food company the world has ever known. from chocolate bars in Europe to instant noodles in Asia, from coffee in Latin America to bottled water in Africa, Nestle has found its way into homes everywhere. The truth revealed is that whether you're starting your morning with Nescafe, grabbing a Kit Kat during lunch, or seasoning dinner with Maggi, you're interacting with Nestle more than you even realize. The sheer scale is staggering. Thousands of products, millions of employees, trillions in value. But here's the shocking story. Behind the logos and commercials lies a company that redefined how global business works. Nestle doesn't just sell food, it builds ecosystems, creating jobs, shaping supply chains, and influencing health policies. It almost didn't work at several turning points, yet Nestle survived and thrived by staying relentless in innovation and adaptation. The hidden lesson: global dominance isn't an accident. It's a mixture of vision, persistence, and constant reinvention. What no one tells you is that empires are not built in silence. They're built by consistently staying present in people's lives until your brand becomes almost invisible because it's everywhere. That's Nestle's real power today. And this ties directly into the exclusive guide I mentioned earlier. Inside, I reveal how empires like Nestle scale without losing relevance, and how you can take the same principles into your own projects. Learn from this mistake. Believing global impact is impossible for small beginnings. The guide shows step by step how one small idea can ripple into something massive. Today, Nestle is more than a company. It's a force of influence, with products that shape daily routines across cultures and generations. The shocking part? It all started with one pharmacist and a single can of infant formula. From there, a trillion-dollar empire was born. And yet, the story isn't just about Nestle. It's about the blueprint of growth, resilience, and vision that anyone can learn from. The hidden lesson from the outside: Nestle looks like a corporate machine, but the truth revealed is far more human. One man, in a small pharmacy, set out not to build an empire, but to save lives. You won't believe this. Henri Nestlé never imagined his experiment would reshape global food culture. No one saw it coming, but that single act of compassion became the foundation for a trillion-dollar giant. What really happened is proof that big revolutions often start quietly. The hidden lesson is simple, yet profound. Small ideas, when paired with vision and persistence, can scale beyond imagination. Henri's mix of humanitarian drive and scientific precision created something the world desperately needed. It almost didn't work, but because he refused to stop, it did. And that changed everything. This shocking story isn't just about food. It's about possibility. Think about it in your own life. What idea are you holding back because it feels too small, too fragile, too impossible? What no one tells you is that the difference between a forgotten dream and a world-changing empire is often just action, the decision to take the first step. Nestle's journey shows us that ordinary beginnings can create extraordinary legacies. Learn from this mistake: underestimating the power of scale. Henri could have stayed a pharmacist. Instead, he became the architect of a global empire. And while his products feed billions, his story feeds something deeper: the belief that you, too, can create something lasting. That's the real hidden lesson. And this is exactly why I created the exclusive guide that complements this story. Inside, you'll find the 10 most powerful lessons drawn from the world's greatest empires, strategies you can apply directly to your life, your projects, your business. If you've stayed with me until now, you're the kind of person who doesn't just consume stories, you learn from them. The link is waiting for you in the description, because here's the truth: it could have ended here. You could close this video, forget the lesson, and move on. Or you could take what you've just learned and turn it into something extraordinary. Nestle's empire started with a single idea. What's yours? So here we are, from one pharmacist's backroom experiment to the biggest food empire on Earth. You won't believe this, but Nestle's story isn't really about coffee, chocolate, or baby formula. It's about vision, it's about resilience. It's about what really happens when you refuse to stop, even when it almost doesn't work. The truth revealed is that every empire starts small, with an idea, a risk, and a refusal to quit. Henri Nestlé didn't know his formula would outlive him, but he acted anyway. And that's the hidden lesson. Your decision to take action today could ripple for generations. Now here's my question to you. What's the idea you've been sitting on? What dream feels too fragile, too far-fetched, too impossible? No one tells you this, but the only real mistake is doing nothing. If Nestlé's story teaches us anything, it's that scale is built one choice at a time. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to understand the strategies behind stories like this and actually apply them, I've put together an exclusive guide just for you. Inside, you'll find the 10 most powerful lessons from the world's greatest empires. Lessons you can use to scale your own vision, avoid their mistakes, and build something that lasts. The link is in the description. It could have ended here, with you just watching, being inspired, and moving on. Or it could begin here, with you taking the next step. The choice is yours. If you found value in this story, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join me for more shocking stories, hidden lessons, and secrets behind the biggest empires in history. Because next time, the truth revealed might just change everything for you.